and welcome to your 5th day of Christmas. So 5 golden rings, that's what we've got on our 5th day of Christmas, and today we'll be working on Urdva Dhanurasana, or wheel pose. Now, wheel is a really challenging posture for me. Back bends are really difficult for me because my back just really doesn't want to do that, and I am also really tight in my hip flexors and in my upper body. So a couple of things that I want to tell you about that I see quite often in classes, and they're things that you can probably work on outside of your yoga class to help your wheel pose, your Urdva Dhanurasana, if that's a place where you're working and you're struggling a little bit. So we've got a lot of pressure on our wrists, and after my 3rd baby, I really struggled with my wrists. I had carpal tunnel while I was pregnant, and coming back and recovering after delivering, I was really weak and my wrists were really sore. Something like this, like something that's going to strengthen your wrists, or those stress balls, squishy balls, anything like that, work really well to help build the strength back up in your wrists if that's an area where you're working, as well as in your hands. And then also even just doing some things like this, getting a bigger range of motion in your wrists work great. So just know that that's one area where I want you, that you can work. And then second is also in the pecs. Our chests tend to get tight. So what I see quite a bit is when we're working and we're coming into Urdva Dhanurasana, if people are tight in their chest and their shoulders, is they'll take their hands here and our elbows kind of start to come out to the side and they get up to about here, and that's about it. So if you're here and you're kind of stuck here working and going, oh my gosh, my elbows are really far out to the side, and you're not able to straighten your arms, then someplace you can work in the meantime, again, when you're not in your class, is take both arms up overhead. I want you to work on reaching your elbows. We're trying to keep our elbows about shoulder distance apart, and then lift your elbows up toward the sky. Maybe lift your chin and lift your chest. Whichever hand is on top, of course, you'll want to switch it around so that we do both sides, but you'll start to feel your pecs open up. And then you can also take your hands behind your back, and again, hug your elbows in. What we don't want is our elbows coming out to the side. Really get them tight in toward your body, because our hands are only shoulder distance apart when we're in our wheel pose. We don't want our elbows to go out. I want you to be able to straighten your arms. So holding something for 30, 60, 90 seconds is a really great way to be able to start to break down some of the fascia and open up parts of your body. Okay. And then another great tool, this is called a Dharma wheel. If you have one, they're great. If you don't, you don't need to get one, but there's something that really helped me, again, after my 3rd baby was born, and I was really tight and kyphotic and hunched over a whole lot from being pregnant and from carrying my big boy. So what you do with the Dharma wheel is you just roll back. I mean, you can roll back, you can hang out here, you can straighten your legs. It allows you to work on hugging your elbows again, back in toward your head, so they're not going any wider than shoulder distance apart, but without bearing weight on them. So this was a really nice way for me to be able to start to open up my chest. You can roll all the way up between the shoulder blades, and that feels really great. And roll all the way back down toward your spine. Okay, so that's the Dharma wheel. The third area that I want to talk to you about today is foot placement. Now, when we first start working in wheel pose, and my daughter's in gymnastics, so she does this all the time, of course, and she's laterally rotated, she's turned out, which is fine when you start to work on your wheel pose. Get up any way you can get up. I think that's great. With time, we work on starting to bring our feet back to parallel, and the reason that we do that is because when we're turned out, we put a lot of strain on these muscles here, so we're starting to compress the SI joint. But if our feet are parallel, then what we do is we actually stabilize the SI joint. And the SI joint is right about here on both sides. So when people get SI joint pain, it's usually at the low back on one side. And back bends normally go toward the end of our practice, because when we're doing back bends, if they're done correctly, they stabilize the SI joint. They kind of start to hug everything back in. But if our legs are turned out and our knees are kind of flopping out to the side a little bit, then they don't do that. They actually can really irritate your SI joint. So that's something to be aware of while you're practicing, okay? So we take our feet about shoulder distance apart or so, and you're going to look down. Now, again, our toes might turn out. We're just go in with where we are. Heels pretty close to your bottom, and bring your hands back by your ears. Now here I'm going to really start to look. Are my elbows going out to the side, or can I reach them up toward the sky? Now for me, I like to come right onto the crown of my head first, because that allows me to reset my hands any way that I need to. I hug my elbows again back in, and like I told you, my back bends are not beautiful, right? They are definitely a challenging place for me to work, which is why I really enjoy them, and I feel super humbled. Once I'm able to straighten my arms, I root my hands down, try to straighten my arms. My weight is in my hands and my feet pretty equally, but what I'm doing right now is pressing my feet down in order to reach my chest farther toward the other side of the room. Okay, hold for a few breaths. And when you lower down, this is another important part. Tuck your chin in toward your chest so that you can lower onto your shoulder blades and not lower onto the crown of your head. What we don't want is to have this back bend and everything open up and then plunk down onto the crown of the head and to jam anything in your neck or your cervical spine. All right, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow.